Hi everyone and welcome to today's Q&A session. This one's been a little bit delayed. We're about a month and a half since the last one was released, and I've been saving up a few of your questions and I'll be covering those in the video today. From a news point of view, MartialBody will now have its own studio and training area in Gloucestershire, UK, and I will be using that space to film new courses, to film ongoing monthly and weekly training in MartialBody, and generally using it as well for training, for teaching individuals that I teach. And it's going to be a nice space to train in the MartialBody method and to create more content for both the YouTube channel and for my courses. So expect from the start of next month is when I can get in there and start matting it and all the rest of that stuff. Going forward, a lot more content will be coming out for MartialBody, just getting over that hurdle of getting some space that I can reliably use. So that's happening next month, and I'm quite excited about it. Big news. The weekly training is still going strong, and quite a few people now using the weekly training to give themselves a practice on a weekly basis. Many of them are not joining me on the Zoom sessions, funnily enough. They're watching the Zoom sessions afterwards and training for a week or so in the sessions that we do in the live Zoom training. That will continue into the future now, and I'm really enjoying presenting 35 to 1 hour sessions in MartialBody. If you're interested in that, head to MartialBody.com, go to the learning portal and sign up to the weekly training sessions. It's £20 a month, which means it's about £5 a week to get a really good session that you can then follow each week. Quite a reasonable cost, and lots of people are getting a huge amount out of it now. So if you are interested in making MartialBody training a regular part of your practice, it could be a good place to start. So go and check that out. So the first question for this month is related to a post that I put on my Instagram page, which is @MartialBodyCoach. And the quote is about how stretching can make or break us, depending on how it's done. I'm not a naturally flexible person myself, and I do engage in stretching, but it is with a very specific targeted focus. What I mean by stretching can make or break us is very similar to the ideas around bodybuilding and how that relates to techniques and methods like MartialBody. If we're looking at bodybuilding, we see that those athletes actually isolate specific muscles to make them grow. They're very concerned with what does the bicep look like, so they'll work specifically on an individual muscle. And when we think of classic stretching techniques, they work in a very similar way. They will be trying to stretch a specific muscle. And if we overly focus on this segmentation of the body, we lose some of the goals and objectives of MartialBody training, like whole body connected power. So when we are stretching in isolation, we are taking our hamstring, our calf muscle, our bicep, our chest, we're isolating those areas and stretching them individually. We are segmenting the body in the same way that a bodybuilder might in order to build their body in a way that is beneficial to their competition. Now, this is not to say that this is wrong, it's just incorrect for MartialBody goals and objectives. So if we imagine that someone is stretching individual muscles, what they are doing is creating increased flexibility and elasticity in that specific muscle. But the muscles around that muscle may not exhibit a similar level of release and elasticity. So this can unbalance the body somewhat and can certainly remove our whole body connected power, the idea of the connected body and the stable body. So that's what I mean by stretching can make or break us. If our goals and objectives are in line with MartialBody ideas, the ideas of connection, stability, of elasticity or agility, then we want to have a whole body focus rather than an isolated focus. Arts like traditional yoga and things like this have a very advanced and good way of linking the body together during stretches. Good traditional yoga doesn't work on the idea of isolating a single muscle. It works on the whole body working in unison to create a whole body flexibility rather than an individual muscle area flexibility. Now, that is not to say that if we have problem areas, we shouldn't focus on those problem areas, because certainly there are areas of the body, especially related to the modern lifestyle, that we must focus on a little bit more than others. But if that is a rule that we apply across the whole body, it can segment us, for want of a better phrase. So that's an explanation of the idea of stretching, making or breaking us. So another question that I get asked quite a lot is, how does MartialBody and the methodology of the MartialBody method relate to internal martial arts or internal training? Now, for many of you who don't study internal arts and have no idea what that means, you may be thinking about chi blasting someone across the room or making them hop in the air from the slightest touch from your finger. Believe me when I say that my experience of internal power and internal martial arts has no relation to that stuff. I studied, before I was teaching Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and other things, I studied Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, a style called Daitoru Aiki Jiu-Jitsu. And this was one of the Japanese styles with internal training in it. I also studied in great depth the Chinese famous 3 internal styles, Tai Chi, Xingyi and Bagua. And these have a very, very refined method of body development, intent training and mind development. And it would be fair to say that many of the techniques that I have applied into the MartialBody method have some sort of relevance back towards those internal training from those various schools. But it would also be very much fair to say that there's a huge amount in MartialBody that is not related to internal training from those schools at all. Things like the elastic body training, where we are looking at stretch shortening cycle techniques, we're looking at reaction training, and we're trying to create the neurology behind our bodies that can make us move with agility and speed. This is almost absent from many of the internal arts. There are certain nuanced training methods like Qigong, which has similarities, but in the main that's not really talked about, this idea of being extremely light and agile. There's also things like the spiral body, the fluid body, all of the bodies really, where the techniques are focused through a lens which is not similar to the original traditional way of doing them. So we can think about arm swings in the heavy body, where our entire aim is to connect ourselves to this downward direction and the feeling of heaviness. In a traditional internal practice where we're doing arm swings, we may actually be working on our quad and loosening our quad or loosening our shoulders. And that's a slightly different proposition for the technique. So MartialBody is for sure influenced by my previous training, and certainly I've taken many techniques that I learned and refocused them into the lens of the 6 bodies, with the ultimate goal of creating the MartialBody. And this is one of the things that I would say relates into internal training. But is MartialBody internal practice? No, it isn't. It is its own thing. And I believe that a Muay Thai fighter, a karate practitioner, a judoka can get the same benefits from MartialBody training as someone who practices internal arts. In fact, probably a bit more, because the internal artists may have their own body development skills. Now, secondly, there is a lot of baggage around the term internal martial arts and internal power training. There's a lot of baggage around it because there is a lot of woo-woo stuff out there. There are people flying all over the place from the slightest touch. I've written an article about this, and if you check out the MartialBody blog, you'll be able to see it. I think there's many reasons why people act that way, and there's many reasons why the many internal artists and Tai Chi masters and things like that have gone down that road. It's a romantic idea, and it's a sort of wonderful to think of magic, but in fact most of the time it's not something that I'm interested in being associated with. So that move away from the ideas of internal work is quite important to me. So that's the reason why I think martial body is different to internal training, but has close ties towards it. And I think that that gives a good impression about the reasons why internal power and internal training is not something that I talk about when related to martial body. So another question that I get asked quite a lot is relating to something called whole body power or whole body connected power. And why is it important? How is it useful? All of these different things. Well, firstly, we can look at various martial arts and see examples of whole body connected power in use. Whether that's the judoka performing a big throw and they use their whole body to do it, or it's the Aiki expert using their whole body in a small movement that creates a big effect in their opponent. We can see whole body power at work in a lot of different areas. The idea of training for this to be a habit is where martial body comes in. And whole body connected power has a series of benefits. Firstly, we can say that using the whole body together creates more power. Okay, we can say that if I just shoot my arm out from my body, that's going to be one level of force. If I drive through my feet and shoot my arm out, that's going to be another level of force. But if I open and close my whole body at the same time, so my legs are opening and closing, my body's opening and closing, my arms are opening and closing, that's going to be another level of force again, in a different way to the pushing on the earth or the shooting out of the arm. So whole body connected power is related to the harmonization of the body in a given action so as to create more apparent force. This is what the first thing that it gives us. And it's highly useful, of course, if we are throwing someone and we can use our whole body. The instant we move a millimeter, our whole body is backing that millimeter. It means that there's a huge amount of power right from the start. We don't have to wind ourselves up and then produce the force. So firstly, we have this harmonization of the body, neurological association, so that everything moves at the same time. And the first consequence of that is power. Now, the second consequence of whole body connected force or whole body connected power is efficiency. And what happens is that rather than us using one muscle group with a lot of power as I try to do something, I instead use my whole body for the same type of action. And although we're using the whole body, no one area is actually being overused. It's not requesting a huge amount of oxygen to work. If I pull with my arm, for instance, on something, let's say I'm holding someone's jacket and they're pulling away, and I pull with my arm and I keep my arm tense. I'm not using any of the rest of my body, but I'll start to get out of breath and I'll start to feel big fatigue in my arm. Okay. Now, if I just hook myself to someone and lean on them and don't actually pull with my muscles, I can lean there pretty much all day and not actually become tired. Of course, we don't lean on people like that, but it's a good demonstration of how the same type of force, the weight of me leaning versus the weight of me, the force that my muscles are exerting in pulling, can have a different effect in terms of effort. So whole body connected power can have that effect of creating less effort for the same goal or the same result. And this is why we're so interested in it. We can fight for longer. For a combat sports athlete, it means that they can fight for longer, basically. We can strike harder from shorter distances because that millimeter is backed by the whole body rather than just the arm moving 1 millimeter. So whole body connected power, the attribute that is developed there is a brilliant way for us to increase force and increase efficiency in our movements and our martial techniques. So I think that's it for today in terms of questions and answers. I hope you've enjoyed us going through these few questions together and it's answered some of the questions that you might have. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me at www.martialbody.com and I will be more than happy to add your questions into the upcoming Q&As just like this one. Remember, there's going to be much more courses coming soon as the facility is up and running. If you are interested in any martial body training or the sort of things that we've been discussing in these Q&As, head to martialbody.com, click on Begin Learning and check out the courses. There are a multitude of different courses on different subjects now. If you think, right, I could do with some whole body connected power, there is Connected Body Foundations and Phase 2 training that you can go and check out. So with that said, I hope that your training is going very well. You are getting ready to get back into your dojos and gyms and training places as this terrible pandemic starts to wind down. And I hope that at some point you'll be able to come and see me here in Gloucestershire and train at the new facility. So with that said, take good care and happy training, everyone.